great speech, but you didn't send me an introduction, but at least you sent me the title. And the title of Wilfred's speech today is Ding Dong. So I don't know what this speech is going to be about, but he's got my interest right now. Will you please welcome Mr. Wilfred?
Well, I'm definitely surprised that I'm first. I particularly chose number 2 there. But my intention today was actually just to be the joke master. But when I looked, it's like, okay, that was taken. So it's like, well, I have to give a speech. And I found a rather long speech, 5 to 7 minutes. And it probably has a couple of jokes in it, so bear with me. There's always going to be a little bit more. A bishop advertises a job to ring the bell in his tower. The only job applicant is a hunchback with no arms. He says, the bishop asks him his name. He says, well, I can't tell you that, but I can ring the bell. Bishop says, well, how can you do the job? You have no arms. He says, no problem. I have a plan. Let's go up to the tower, and I'll show you. So they climb the steps all the way up to the tower. The bishop said, okay, show me your plan. The hunchback runs, jumps at the bell, striking it with his forehead. Sure enough, the bell rings. So despite his misgivings, the bishop hired the hunchback to ring the bell. One day, the hunchback decides he's going to ring the bell a little bit louder than usual. He goes and gets the bishop and says, watch this. With that, he goes to the furthest corner of the tower, takes a running leap, runs, jumps, slips, smashes into the bell, staggers a bit, falls out of the belfry onto his back, onto the street below, where he dies. Crowd gathers around the hunchback. His mangled body is lying in the street. The bishop runs down to investigate the commotion. A policeman arrives and asks, who is this guy? The bishop says, I don't know his name, but his face rings a bell. The policeman then asks, this is the guy you hired to ring the bell? Yes, said the bishop, shaking his head. But I had a hunch back then nothing good would come of this. The next day, a man claiming to be the hunchback's brother shows up. He says, hey, I heard what happened in the news, and I've come to take my brother's job. The bishop offers his condolences for his brother and asks him his name. He says, well, I can't tell you my name, he said, but I can ring the bell. Oh boy, says the bishop, all right. He escorts him up to the tower. Says, you know, your brother used to ring the bell with his forehead, but I notice you have 2 good arms. Are you going to ring the bell with your forehead, or are you going to use your arms? The hunchback replies, well, I was going to use my arms, but if my brother can ring it with his face, so can I. So saying, he runs full bore at the bell, glances off of it with his face, slips, falls out the window to his death on the street below. The bishop rushes down to the sidewalk, and as a crowd gathers, a policeman arrives and asks the bishop, do you know who this man is? The bishop replies, I didn't get a chance to get his name, but he's a dead ringer for his brother. The next day, the bishop placed an ad in the local paper, and an able-bodied young man applied. The bishop, remembering what happened the last 2 times, says, I want to underscore something. You cannot use your face to ring the bell. Is that clear? He says, yes, no problem. Good, says the bishop. Now what is your name? The man says, I can't tell you, but I'll whisper it to the bell. The bishop says, okay, I don't know where this is going, but the young man leaned toward the bell, cupped his hands around his mouth, and whispered something to the bell. With that, he grabbed the rope tied to the clapper and gave it one hearty tug. Well, once you know it, the rope whipped around, pulled him out of the belfry, slipped from his hands, and he plunged to his death on the pavement below. The policeman arrived, looked at the bishop, and says, okay, do you know this man's name? The bishop said no, but he told the bell. again, the church was left without a bell ringer. And that was placed in the local paper, and within days, another young man showed up. "Are you here for the job?" asked the bishop. The man nodded his head and said, "Mm-hmm." "And what is your name?" asked the bishop. The man pointed to his mouth and said, "Mm-hmm-hmm." "Okay, I get it. You can't speak. Not a problem." Here we go again. Took him up to the tower. Much to the bishop's surprise, instead of running to the bell or grabbing the rope, the man just looked up to the bell and started humming. As he held the final note there, the bell began to resonate with sympathetic vibrations, and a beautiful tone could be heard throughout the city. The bishop said, "My goodness, this is great. This man doesn't even have to touch the bell." But suddenly the vibrations intensified, and the wooden beam holding the bell snapped, and as the bell plunged toward the ground, it hit the man, knocked him out of the belfry, where he fell to his death. The bishop ran down, the crowd gathered around, and again the policeman showed up. The policeman looked up at the bishop and says, "Well, do you know this man's name?"